Welcome back to Yang Daily. I'll be your host, Alex Cheney, bringing you all the Yang news you need to live your life right. We've got some action items, some disturbing developments, and a bit of inspiration today. Also, a logistics announcement. Out of time management necessity, the podcast will be taking Saturday off this weekend, and possibly every weekend going forward. Not sure about the latter yet. We're still examining options, but I'm definitely overloaded. Alternatively, I might reduce the volume of news being reported each day to just the more important bits. I'll let you know what I decide. Now then, on to the news. To follow up on Kim Moneybomb fundraising, apparently I wasn't in the loop entirely. The reason for the fundraising is to try and get enough to conduct a poll because the Gravel Institute said that they would back David in the race if he could show in a poll that he has a chance of winning. Having a poll would also help convince many others that he's worth voting for, a sad reality of our current voting system. If we had ranked choice or star voting, of course, people could freely vote for their favorite. Gravel also said that it's an ideal seat for an upset, so if you can spare a donation for Kim, that is the cause it's going toward. It could make a huge difference in the race. Similarly, Jen Perelman is trying to raise enough funds to get her mailer out to all voters in her district. She's trying to raise just $8,000 by Monday. If you've got deep pockets and can help her as well, she could definitely use it. Speaking of, I want to shout out Marilyn Strickland running for Congress in Washington's 10th District because mail-in ballots have just gone out, so voting has already begun. She's been mentioned here before, but she used to be mayor of Tacoma and had a very successful run of it, raising high school graduation rates dramatically, among other things. She's working closely with mayors for AGI and supports UBI wholeheartedly. Very well-spoken, knowledgeable, compassionate, and driven to make progress on social and economic freedom. I strongly urge anyone who can to vote, donate, and phone bank for her. I'm super bummed that I'm just outside her district personally. She's also got a pretty cool ad that you can view in the links in the podcast description. I'm sorry to have to report that Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg is suffering a resurgence of cancer, which she already defeated once. She is currently undergoing chemotherapy and says that it is proving effective and that she is taking it well. She says she is fit to continue on as justice for the time being. It's a tragic position that both she and the country are in, where there is so much riding on her ability to maintain her job in these dire circumstances simply because we all know that the Trump administration will jump at the chance to replace her with a Republican judge. The way that we appoint justices and the length of their terms is just one more in a long list of badly needed reforms to our democracy. Yang's policy of increasing the number of justices and cycling out one per presidential term, skipping if one party has multiple presidents in a row, is still the best idea I've heard for keeping things balanced and rational. I wish Ruth the best, not just for the country's sake, but for her own. The House Education and Labor Committee is holding a hearing on reopening schools next week and requested to hear advice from the CDC, but they won't be getting it because the Trump administration has stepped in to prevent the CDC from testifying. Barring testimony and evidence seems to be a recurring theme for Trump, for some reason. The excuse given was incredibly weak. They said that Dr. Redfield, the CDC director, should be focusing on the pandemic, not on advising the government about the pandemic. Right, so that's already nonsensical, but also the committee did not ask for Redfield specifically. They want to hear from anyone in the CDC, and Trump is barring them all. This follows another suspect move of the administration, which was to direct states to no longer send hospitalization data to the CDC, which has been tracking it since the pandemic began. Instead, that data is being directed to the Department of Health and Human Services. It's not clear to me from the reporting whether it will be publicly accessible from there, but it has stirred up a lot of concern in the healthcare community over trust in the data and transparency, after how the administration has politicized the pandemic, has been trying to sideline Fauci and the CDC while they push for schools to reopen, and after Vice President Pence at a previous time said, quote, "To be very clear, we don't want CDC guidance to be a reason why people don't reopen their schools," end quote. Health officials were also understandably upset that the Trump administration gave no warning or explanation before removing the information from the CDC, causing confusion and delays in times when it cannot be afforded. Fortunately, Johns Hopkins maintains its own data reporting directly from states and will continue to make that publicly available. The Huff Foundation released a video clip of Gerald Huff, author of Crisis 2038, speaking on why he supports a UBI. I read, or rather listened to, Gerald's book, but I wasn't aware that there was any video or audio of him on UBI, so I was happy to see this. He makes a good argument about the growing precarity of work and how UBI would make people more adaptable and secure. This man was Yang Gang way before it was cool. Dear World is once again teaming up with Humanity Forward, this time for storytelling-themed Humanity Hangs. You can check out the details and sign up below. Just follow the link, click an event on the calendar, and copy and paste the embedded URL. Finally, Matthew Schuerman highlighted a quote from Yang, one which bears repeating here. Quote, "When you're young, you think the cavalry is coming. When you get older, you realize you are the cavalry." End quote. That really struck me as a powerful sentiment, and one we all must take to heart. If we sit around waiting for someone else to solve our problems, we might be waiting forever. It's time to step up and be the cavalry for ourselves and for those yet too young to fight. As the Goonies would say, this is our time. And that'll do it for today's Yang Daily. Help Kim and Jin reach their critical donation goals, support Marilyn in Washington, join in on the Humanity Hangs, remind yourself that we are the cavalry, help recruit other organizations to the cause and get everyone to sign the UBI petitions, flood Congress and Trump with calls, tweets, and letters using the ResistBot or Income Movement easy contacts below. If you need financial help, consult Humanity Forward, the Income Movement Aid Database, United Way, or the H3 podcast thread. And don't forget to Yang Daily.